This is part 3 of the partner selection and marriage lecture. I will start off talking about factors related to marital success among interracial couples. I want you to pay attention to a theme of similarity within couples across a variety of domains outside of ethnicity, and note that having commonality in these domains appears to be protective of marriages. So beginning with factors related to marital success among interracial couples, the first factor is acculturation, which is basically an identification with the mainstream culture. With acculturation, individuals start adapting and acquiring features of the culture one is situated within. There are individual differences in how enmeshed people are in their culture. So, for example, first-generation immigrant may identify less with the mainstream culture than a fourth-generation immigrant. Typically, more acculturated individuals fare better in inter-ethnic unions. So moving on to the next factor, religion. Adding religious differences to cultural differences can compound problems. For example, having both religious and cultural differences between spouses may add stress to marriage, which can make it more difficult to have a successful marriage. So if both parties share religion, this can be protective. Next, socioeconomic status, or SES, is another factor. Again, adding social class differences to ethnic or racial differences between spouses can make things more challenging. Moving on to values. Greater discrepancy between ethnic groups and values is related to greater difficulties in the marital relationship. For example, if spouses have differing values about parenting, communication, or anything else, this can cause problems in a marital relationship. So again, remember to notice the theme of similarity. Having similarities in values and other factors is protective for interracial marriages. Next, cultural familiarity is another factor that is related to marital success. Having some experience with and knowledge about the other person's culture is beneficial and protective. So then moving on and incorporating extended family agreements, there is greater chance for marital success if both spouses' families are supportive of the couple's relationship or marriage. We refer to this as the extended family agreement. And lastly, touching on the last factor, neighborhood setting is a factor that can impact marital success. So living in a multi-ethnic neighborhood may have a positive effect for interracial or interethnic marriages. Okay, so now let's talk about love matches versus arranged marriages. Getting into where arranged marriages occur, arranged marriages are more likely to occur in South Asia, India, Islamic societies such as Saudi Arabia, Egypt. In fact, in Egypt, 50 to 75% of all marriages are arranged. And then lastly, in China, although this occurs to a lesser extent in China than it has in the past. China has been progressing away from arranged marriages, in fact, actually, and more toward love matches. So now transitioning to the traditional perspective. The traditional perspective on marital choice demonstrates that love matches traditionally go from hot to cold, meaning that these types of marriages start out as romantic, passionate, and satisfying, and then reality sets in over the years and there is a decline in passion and marital satisfaction. The time prior to the wedding is the hot period, and after the wedding, reality sets in and some combination of domestic chores, child-rearing burdens, finances, and mundane everyday life takes over, which often results in a decline in romantic appeal. Differing from love matches, arranged marriages are typically viewed as the opposite, going from cold to hot. That means that these relationships start out as high on commitment but low on intimacy and passion. But that intimacy and passion for each other develops over the years into a strong loving relationship. After their marriage, it is thought that the couple will get to know each other and through mutual concern develop a mature form of love that can endure the test of time and family difficulties. It is also hypothesized that parents who are not blinded by love and romance have more experience and realistic expectations and will do a better job of selecting a mate for their child. So I would like you to be thinking about the success, including both the stability and quality of arranged marriages versus love matches as you watch the next video segment. This clip is the 7th segment of the Love, Lust, and Marriage, Why We Stay and Why We Stray video that you watched earlier in this lecture. This segment will discuss modern and arranged marriages. The link will be available in Canvas, or you can search for the video online. So again, just go ahead and pause this video so you can watch the segment on arranged marriages, then come back and we will finish the lecture talking about marital satisfaction over time. Alright, so incorporating you all's survey results from the first class, when asked if all couples should participate in premarital counseling or classes before they decide to marry, the majority of you agreed or strongly agreed that they should. Okay, now let's talk about marital satisfaction over time. An inverted J shape is the most common pattern of marital satisfaction over time. For this pattern, marital satisfaction starts out as high, declines during the middle years, which is often linked to those early child rearing years that may be difficult, and after that decline, it returns to moderate level later in life, which could be when the children are grown. Couples who start out low in marital satisfaction are 4 to 5 times more likely to get divorced, but marital satisfaction alone does not predict divorce. There are many marriages that are stable, but the couples are unhappy, and there are also many unstable marriages with happy couples. Divorce also has to do with barriers to leaving their relationship and alternatives to the relationship. So, if there are lots of barriers to divorce, the couple may stay together even if they are unhappy. So, for example, couples may be staying together for the kids, financial reasons, values, or a lack of viable alternative partners. In contrast, if there are a lot of alternatives to the relationship, such as potential other partners, divorce might be more common. This perspective fits well with the exchange theory, which emphasizes seeking out the greatest rewards with the lowest cost in relationships, that was discussed in the Knox and Shaw book. There are 2 primary reasons for declines in marital satisfaction over time: children and time. Beginning with children. Children may take away from couple time, increase stress and time demands, and require couples to make adjustments in their marital and parenting roles. Taking care of children may leave less time available for the couple's relationship, which can lead to more stress and reduced marital satisfaction. Dr. Carney from UCLA did a very nice job describing some of the negative effects that stress can have on couples in general in his article, Stress is Bad for Couples, Right?, posted by the National Council on Family Relations. Carney describes how stress can affect marital satisfaction because it can change when couples talk about and take time away from other more positive activities, and stress makes it more difficult for couples to engage in effective communication and conflict resolution. Moving on to time. There's also a time effect. The changes in marital satisfaction, particularly the decline, may simply reflect that couples develop more realistic expectations about marriage and everyday life over time. Couples may enter marriage with really high expectations of what it will be like, but will develop a more realistic idea of what their marriage and everyday life will be like as time passes. Aside from children and time, there are also social and psychological factors to consider that may impact marital satisfaction over time. For example, income and education. Specifically, higher family income is associated with more marital satisfaction, probably because of reduced financial stresses. Over the past several decades, there have been a widening divide between low and high educated individuals. Lower educated individuals experience lower rates of marriage, higher rates of cohabitation and single parenthood, and among the lower educated who do marry, higher rates of divorce. Individuals with higher education, on the other hand, do marry a little later than the national average, but their marriages are less likely to end in divorce. Income and education might also have an effect because these factors are greatly predictive of the number of resources that couples will have. Dr. Carney's article, Stress is Bad for Couples, right? Emphasized that stress is likely to more negatively impact couples who don't have as many resources that might help them during stressful times. So moving on to similarity and homogamy, birds of a feather flock together, right? Well, similarity is the basis for partner selection. Homogamy is the tendency for individuals to choose a mate who is similar. Heterogamy is the opposite. The complementary needs theory mentioned in Knox and Shaw noted that there is not much support for this opposites attract perspective, and homogamy, or this idea of looking for similarities with a partner, is more predictive of marital quality. When thinking of specific characteristics that we tend to be the most similar with our partners or spouses on, there is race and ethnicity, religion, socioeconomic status or education, age, personality, psychological qualities, prior marital status, and physical attractiveness. And Knox and Shaw addresses these as well. These similarities are important in first marriages in predicting marital satisfaction. These similarities are also very important for interracial couples because the more similar they are in various areas, the better marital quality they have and the less likely they are to divorce. So moving on to gender role attitudes. This has to do with equality or discrepancies with behavior expectations about who should fulfill what type of role. So for example, differences in opinion about who is doing what type of housework, childcare, and breadwinning. An example of this may be if one spouse has more egalitarian attitudes, meaning they believe both spouses should share tasks equally, and one spouse has more traditional views, for example, breadwinner and homemaker. Discrepancies in these expectations and the behaviors that come with them may cause stress and strain on the marital relationship. And lastly, discussing reactions to others, specifically being warm, nurturing, and sensitive to other people's needs. There has been a famous quote that says, "Happiness is a feminine partner." This is pointing out that more stereotypically feminine qualities, so for example, being warm, nurturing, caring, and sensitive, are linked to greater marital satisfaction for self and partner. The more you are like this, and the more you are with someone who is like this, the better marital satisfaction you will have. So although these are typically considered feminine traits or qualities, they are not only feminine traits or qualities. So finding a spouse that is warm, nurturing, caring, sensitive tends to be good for both individuals. Okay, so you have reached the end of the partner selection in marriage online lecture.